The General Hospital spoilers for Friday, August 8th, state that Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer will face a mystery, while Carly Spencer has a proposition for Jack Brennan to consider. Jason Morgan will also receive another push in Britt Westbourne's direction, so here's what fans can expect. For starters, Curtis Ashford would thank Jordan Ashford and most likely praise her for helping to rescue his marriage. Curtis has vowed to be more understanding and try to fix things with Portia Robinson, in order to avoid repeating his mistakes with Jordan. Drew Kane will also have a private conversation with Elizabeth Baldwin, and he may question if she is willing to put in a good word for him with Willow Tate. Liz may argue that Willow's decisions must be her own, reminding Drew of how badly he damaged her. Even so, Drew will not believe Willow is better off without him, and will encourage Elizabeth to see things his way. Drew is unlikely to abandon the prospect of reconciling with Willow anytime soon, therefore he will continue to work on reuniting her with her children. Drew may believe that is the greatest way to convince Willow that they still belong together. Anna Devane will have a busy day. Anna will begin by disrupting Carly's conversation with Brennan, leading Carly to wonder what else Anna wants to tell her about Jocelyn Jacks. Brennan abducted Anna to foil her effort to leak information. Therefore Anna was fully briefed, and may potentially face treason charges if she jeopardizes the operation. That is why Anna will have to be cautious about what she tells Carly during their interactions. Carly will be more interested in discussing a new proposal nonetheless, as she plans to propose something to Brennan. There's a good likelihood Carly's idea will be romantic, so she can strengthen her bond with Brennan before their inevitable breakup. Meanwhile, Alexis Davis will provide Jason with worrisome updates. Drew intends to relocate Scout Kane to Washington, D.C., and has already planned to visit some schools there with her. Alexis will complain to Jason on Friday's episode and seek support for putting Scout's needs first. Scout clearly deserves to stay in Port Charles and be with her family, especially since she is still mourning Sam McCall so much. Jason may agree and accept that Danny Morgan would be upset if his little sister moved so far away. Nonetheless, Jason may argue that Drew is in control when it comes to parenting his own child. Drew is unlikely to listen to Jason's opinions about Scout or anything else, so Jason may bring it up. Dante and Lulu will arrive in Laura Collins' office, having been summoned. Lulu and Dante will be left to speculate why Laura wanted to visit them. Dante and Lulu will be surprised by a significant revelation in Friday's GH episode, which will leave them angry. Liesl Albrecht may cross the line with Rocco Falconeri, infuriating his parents even more. Anna will meet with Jason and convey her point of view. Although Anna had earlier told Jason to back off and avoid proving Britt's existence, she may alter her mind. Brennan revealed that the current WSB mission will take place in Dalmatia, thus Anna must be curious about Britt's possible involvement given that the Five Poppies Resort is nearby. Will Anna hint about it to Jason and encourage him to investigate in Dalmatia himself? Britt will not obey any further orders at the resort until her demands are met. Britt will skip her duties while she waits for her freedom, so that she can leave the property and have fun. According to General Hospital spoilers, Pascal may face even more turmoil as he delivers Britt's strike message to the boss. General Hospital spoilers reveal that Jack Brennan does not want Carly Spencer to know that her daughter, Jocelyn Jacks, is a WSB agent operating covertly. In fact, he has taken great lengths to keep her from learning about it. Jocelyn has lied to Carly twice about her location and the nature of her relationship with Vaughn. Carly is bound to put the pieces together sooner or later because she knows her daughter so well. Jason and Jocelyn meet in Croatia, and he discovers the truth while searching for Dr. Britt Westbourne at the Five Poppies Resort in Croatia. Jason Morgan is bound to meet Jocelyn, who will also be there with Vaughn working for the WSB. Jason suspected that something was wrong with Jocelyn and appeared to question whether or not she went to Easter Island. Now that they are in the same place at the same time, they will undoubtedly cross paths, and Jason will discover that Jocelyn is a WSB agent. Jocelyn will beg him not to reveal her cover, but Jason isn't one to hide secrets from Carly. Jason Morgan tells Carly Spencer the truth about Jocelyn Jacks, unable to lie and hide the truth from Carly. Jason tells her about meeting Jocelyn in Croatia and discovering that she is a WSB agent. Carly would initially refuse to trust the truth, but then she would begin to piece together information regarding Jocelyn's Easter Island trip and a supposed recent trip to Australia, where Jocelyn claimed she would be caring for a family friend. Carly would shortly grasp the reality and probably be angry with herself for not recognizing it. She would then blame Brennan for bringing Jocelyn into this world. Carly Spencer confronts Jack Brennan now that she knows the truth about Jocelyn. Carly realizes that Brennan recruited Jocelyn into the WSB, while keeping the truth from her. Carly would consider this as a massive betrayal and inform Brennan that she will not tolerate it. Brennan would tell her that keeping the truth from her was vital, but Carly disagreed. She would inform Brennan that this was inexcusable and end their relationship. Brennan would be outraged, but he would also have to keep the show running in order to keep his job and safeguard the interests of the WSB. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think Jason will find out the truth about Jocelyn while in Croatia? Do you think Jason will tell Carly? Will Carly terminate things with Brennan once she finds out? Keep watching General Hospital, which airs on ABC weekdays, to find out what happens next. Carly stood in the darkly lit kitchen of her Metro Court penthouse, the only sound surrounding her being the steady hum of the refrigerator. Her fingers absently caressed the lip of her coffee cup as she reflected on her talk with Jason earlier that day. He had been cool as usual, but his tone changed when he mentioned Britt. There was a quiet desperation that Carly hadn't heard in years, not since everything between them had crumbled in the mayhem of Sunny's return and the waves of sorrow that followed. Jason hadn't said Britt's name in months, yet something had sparked inside him. Perhaps it was time. Perhaps the past needed to be revisited. Across town, Jason sat alone at a small table outside Kelly's, holding a heavy file under his arm. He wasn't accustomed to second-guessing himself, but tonight he was. Britt had left Port Charles to escape not only her father's history, but also the sadness that came with her relationship with him. And now he was wondering if it was fair to bring her back in. He'd informed Carly that Britt had contacts who could help him hunt down Brennan. Contacts hidden deep within the WSB's ruins. However, that was not the complete truth. He misses Britt. In the quiet moments when his thoughts weren't dominated with mafia intrigue or family betrayal, he remembered her giggle, the way she challenged him, and how she didn't ask him to be anything other than himself. That mattered more than he wanted to admit. Meanwhile, the Spencer house was filled with unease. Laura had stayed up all night poring through every file and photo she had of Lulu. It had been months since the last substantial update, and now Dante was back in town, and something about him had changed. He was colder and more guarded, as if he were hiding something. Laura had thought Dante's homecoming would provide answers or at least comfort, but it did not. Dante rarely spoke about Lulu, and when he did, it was in a faraway tone. Laura had a feeling he knew more than he was saying. She was not the only one who sensed it. Maxie had cornered Dante at the station 2 days earlier. She didn't mean to push, but when she inquired about Lulu's care facility, Dante paused. He would always light up when he talked about Lulu, even when she was in a coma, but now he ignored the subject totally. Maxie felt something was wrong. She'd seen Dante clutching his phone the night before, rushing away after receiving a suspicious text. She didn't have proof yet, but she was beginning to suspect that Lulu's health wasn't what everyone assumed. Meanwhile, Carly saw Brennan for the first time in months. The tension between them was high, but Carly played her cards wisely. She was no longer merely Sunny's ex. She was a powerful figure in Port Charles, and Brennan was well aware of this. She presented a plan that could give Brennan the advantage he so desperately sought. In exchange, she requested answers. Carly was finished playing defense. She wanted control. She wanted to know what the WSB had been hiding, particularly concerning the explosion that nearly killed her son, and what role Brennan might have played in the subsequent silence. Brennan leaned back, dissatisfied at first. But as Carly described her knowledge, her links to the QS, her access to Sunny's enterprises, and her covert relationship with Anna, he began to reconsider. Carly was no longer a liability. She was a source of leverage. He asked her what she wanted the most, and she did not hesitate. I want to know why Jason was sent back when he was, and who pulled the strings. Brennan didn't respond immediately away, but his silence told her everything. There was more going on behind the scenes than anyone in Port Charles knew. Back at the PCPD, Dante sat at his desk, glancing at an old photograph of himself and Lulu with Rocco. His fingers shook slightly while tracing the image. He despised lying, but what option did he have? Lulu was awake. Her eyes hadn't fully opened, but she had mumbled his name. The physician suggested it could have been a reflex, but Dante suspected something more. And he wasn't prepared to convey the news. Not yet, because if he does, everything will change. Laura would want to rush to her daughter, Maxie would inform half of the town, and Charlotte, who was already dealing with her father's absence, would be swept up in another tempest. Dante wished to protect Lulu, but keeping her existence a secret? That was a line he never expected to cross. In the midst of it all, Jason met Britt at a quiet hotel bar outside town. She had consented to meet with him, but the conversation was cautious. She wore a stern expression and kept her defenses up. "You only call me when you need something," she stated plainly. Jason did not argue. "I'm not here because I need your contacts," he told me. "I'm here to see if there's still something between us." Britt looked at him for a long time before responding. "It depends. Are you now prepared to pick me?" Jason had been avoiding this question for far too long. He'd always been faithful to Sunny, then Carly, and finally to the business. Britt had been a victim of such loyalty, abandoned when things grew hard. But he was no longer clear who he was loyal to. Sunny had changed, Carly was playing her own game, and Drew was a very different problem. Jason reached out to take Britt's hand. "I have committed mistakes, but I'm not here to make another one." That moment hovered between them like a delicate, hazardous promise. Carly, meanwhile, was putting things in position. She met Anna behind closed doors at Metro Court and proposed a mutual intelligence exchange. Carly knew Brennan was going to snap, and Anna needed all the assistance she could get to unearth the deep state corruption that plagued the WSB. They devised a tentative alliance that would require Jason's and possibly Britt's support. Anna was skeptical. She didn't trust Britt or Jason. But Carly understood the importance of playing the long game. And now the stakes were bigger than ever. Back at Laura's, a knock on the door shocked her. It was Dante. He appeared weary. "We need to talk," he said. They sat there in the living room, and Dante eventually admitted the truth, or a portion of it. "I've contacted someone from LULU'S care facility. There has been progress." Laura's heart skipped. "Progress?" she echoed. Dante nodded. She opened her eyes. "Once, perhaps twice. I don't want to give people false optimism, but something is occurring." Laura was taken aback. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she did not ask for more. She was aware that Dante was withholding information, but she also knew he was not lying. If he said there was motion, there was. She promised to keep it quiet for now. She did warn him, however, that secrets like these had a tendency to explode, especially at Port Charles. Britt strolled through the corridors of General Hospital like a ghost. Her return had not been announced. She did not want the attention. She only wanted to know if the life she'd left behind was still waiting for her. Epiphany noticed her first, her smile laced with surprise and mistrust. "Back from the dead?" she joked. Britt smirked. "Something like that." She returned, but not for long, unless Jason offered her a reason to remain. That night, Jason and Carly met in the warehouse. They traded information, Jason about Britt, Carly about Brennan. They also argued. Carly did not trust Britt, and Jason did not trust Brennan. They did, however, agree on one point. The truth would be revealed. And when it occurred, it would devastate someone. Dante got another message that night, this one encrypted. It simply stated, "She remembers." His gut wrenched. If Lulu was regaining awareness and recollection, their time was up. The world would soon learn. And if Brennan or the WSB reached her before, all bets were off. In the shadows of Port Charles, a game of alliances and betrayals was taking place. Carly was aligning herself with power players, Jason was finally confronting his emotional past, Dante was on the verge of a tragic revelation, and Britt, formerly an outsider, was regaining prominence. The distinctions between love and survival, truth and strategy were blurring. And as the walls drew in, nobody was safe. By daybreak, a storm was approaching. Carly was aware of the situation. She stood at her window watching the sky become gray. She wasn't sure what her proposition to Brennan would elicit, but she knew one thing. It was greater than her, Jason, and possibly even Sunny. For years, the secrets of Port Charles had been hidden. They were now rising, and not everyone would get away unhurt. Carly sat in stunned stillness, staring at the folded piece of paper in her hands, the words reverberating in her mind. She discovered it tucked away in Jocelyn's rucksack, carelessly left open on the kitchen table. Something Jocelyn never did. At first, she assumed it was a college form, possibly related to her volunteer work at GH, but when she saw WSB operative stamped across the top, her entire world changed. Jocelyn, her daughter, working for WSB, the agency responsible for decades of mayhem in Port Charles. The same organization that had concealed secrets, recruited unwilling operatives, and removed loved ones from families. Carly's heart raced against her ribs as she stood alone in the kitchen, the letter crumpled in her quivering fingers. Her mind raced through the last few months, recalling Jocelyn's unexplained absences, evasive responses, and the way she had become so guarded. Carly assumed she was simply maturing, withdrawing as any adult daughter would. But this was not independence. This was deception. When the front door creaked open and Jocelyn came inside, Carly was already waiting by the counter, holding a letter. Jocelyn's face froze as she saw it. There was no pretense. There's no room for lying. Carly could see her daughter's terror in her eyes, but what saddened her the most was her resignation. Jocelyn had anticipated this moment. "You weren't supposed to find that," Jocelyn replied gently, placing her keys down as if she had come into a regular day. Carly's voice was low and crackling. "How long?" Jocelyn looked aside and then returned. "Almost a year." Carly's voice rose in disbelief, and her breath caught in her throat. "You've been a WSB agent for a year, and you don't think I should know?" "It wasn't about deserving," Jocelyn explained. "It was classified. I had to keep it quiet, for my own and your own protection." Carly's wrath was visceral, but underneath it was a deep, agonizing hurt. "You are my daughter. You endangered your life, lied to me and your family, for what? To be a spy for an organization that has annihilated all it touches?" Jocelyn did not flinch. "It is not like that anymore. The WSB is changing. They're trying to do things the right way now," Carly said, shaking her head bitterly. "There is no right way to approach the WSB. They recruited your uncle. They utilized Jason. They manipulated everyone who had the misfortune to cross contact with them. And now they have you." Jocelyn approached, her tone begging. "Mom, I did not do something to hurt you. I did it because I wanted to make a difference. After everything that had transpired in this town, the danger, the violence, the losses, I desired to be a part of something larger. I wanted to defend others." "You sound exactly like your father," Carly shouted. "And look how that turned out for him." The room went silent. Both ladies stood there, their hearts hammering, the weight of years of trust and love hanging on a thread. But that was not the only treachery Carly had discovered. Diane called her the same night she found the note. Brennan, the man Carly had been closely observing, was not who he claimed to be. He was not only a wealthy investor with a stake in Port Charles. He was connected to the WSB. In reality, he was in charge of one of their latest programs, which involved recruiting fresh operators from within the town. That was how he had discovered Jocelyn. Carly felt nauseous as it all came together. Brennan's interest in her was not based on romance. It had been about proximity, access. The more time he spent with Carly, the closer he could get to Jocelyn without raising suspicion. Carly believed she was rebuilding her life, finding new love, and trying to move on after years of heartbreak. Instead, she had served as a pawn in a plot to steal her kid away. Jocelyn saw a difference in her mother's face. "You know about Brennan," she said quietly. "You let him near me," Carly exclaimed, her voice quivering with rage. "You let me fall for a man who was using me to spy on you, who was part of the reason you're in danger in the first place." "It wasn't like that," she replied quickly. "He had no idea you two would bond. He maintained his distance. And when he saw how near you were getting, he wanted to back away. I told him not to intervene." Carly laughed bitterly. "So you allowed him to play with my heart while you played with my trust?" Jocelyn's eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did," Carly answered bluntly. "And the worst part is I'm not sure who to blame more, him or you." That night, Carly drove to Brennan's apartment. Her hands shook when she knocked on the door. He opened it with the same calm manner that had previously attracted her but now made her skin crawl. "I know everything," she replied without waiting for an invitation inside. "This is about Jocelyn. About the WSB. About you." Brennan's face stiffened. "Carly." "No," she said abruptly. "You don't get to speak. You played me. You used my daughter. And you appeared to be concerned about me while doing it. Do you believe I am merely a pawn in your petty games? You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I did care," Brennan said, his voice tinged with remorse. "I still do." Carly stepped back. "Then stay away from me. Stay away from Jocelyn. If I ever see you near us again, I will burn down every bridge you have erected in this town. Do you want access to Port Charles? Not on my watch." She left him standing in the doorway, the cold night pressing in behind her. Carly returned home and sat alone in the living room, unsure of what might happen next. She wasn't sure how to look at her daughter the same way. The little girl who used to cuddle with her on the couch had vanished, replaced by someone who made life or death decisions under the cover of secrecy. Jocelyn returned downstairs an hour later, her eyes puffy from sobbing. She did not speak. Neither did Carly. The quiet between them said everything. Trust was broken. Love survived, but it was damaged and rattled by lies, danger, and secrets. Carly wasn't sure how they'd recover from this. But she was convinced of one thing right now. Her days of thinking the WSB could be kept at arm's length had passed. They were here. In her home. Within her family. And she'd have to battle harder than ever to preserve what was remained of her world.